This is Dan Dicks here reporting for Press for Truth on day one of the Donald Trump Presidency 2.0. And I can't say I didn't warn you, ladies and gentlemen. You'll recall back when it was announced that he's going to be a convicted felon. I posted this on May 30th, 2024. This BS is more choreographed than a ballet. Trump has been selected already. He will win. Just watch how this tweet ages. The false left-right paradigm is in full swing and everyone's buying it. One side will say, "You elected a felon," and the other will say, "BS." And the New World Order wins, ladies and gentlemen. Well, what exactly did I mean by the New World Order wins? Well, I was suggesting that this man is going to say many things that he's going to do that is going to inspire the right-wing MAGA crowd, but he's going to, in fact, do the opposite of the things that he says he was going to do. Here's a very minor example from yesterday. Listen closely to the words that he says here in his speech.
We will not forget our country. We will not forget our Constitution. And we will not forget our God.
We won't forget God, ladies and gentlemen. And then being sworn in, he seemingly forgot to place his hand on the Bible while being sworn in. Now, this is just a very minor thing that I'm pointing out here, but this is a foreshadowing of some of the things I think we're going to see to come in the next 4 years as he continues to say one thing while doing another. For example, right now we're hearing that Trump is withdrawing from the World Health Organization. Ooh, that's a big one, he says, as he signs that executive order. But I mean, haven't we seen this before? When he announced that he's going to withdraw from the WHO in 2020, and then what actually happened? He started rolling out Operation Warp Speed and fast-tracking the global inoculation program. And need I remind you that it was only a few days ago, like Bill Gates revealed that he just had a private conversation with Trump, an over 3-hour private conversation discussing global health issues, the Operation Warp Speed that happened a few years ago, and how they might be able to implement similar things moving forward in this new Trump presidency. So again, saying, one thing while doing another. He's also just announced that they're withdrawing from the Paris Agreement again, reversing U.S. climate policy. And if you think that this means that he's, trying to expose that man-made global warming is a hoax, you're going to be sadly mistaken. He's just upset with the deal. In fact, climate change is what's actually fueling his desire to tap into Canada's water and Arctic resources, guys. So this has nothing to do with him, exposing the scam, and everything to do with the U.S. just trying to get a better deal. He wants to grant sweeping pardons of January 6 defendants, including rioters who violently attacked police. Well, that is a totally nonsense fake news headline, because nothing of the sort happened. I exposed that back when it was happening, saying you're being lied to. Proof the Capitol building insurrection was a setup. Posted January 8th, 2021, the storming of the Capitol building was not a failure of security, as multiple camera angles and videos showed police letting protesters beyond the barricades, and in some cases, they marched them right on in through the front door. The FBI was investigating a threat from Iran to fly a plane into the building on that same day, yet Joe Schmo and Sally Soccer Mom were able to just easily walk right in. In this video, Dan Dicks Press for Truth proves that this entire incident was a setup by the state in an attempt to gain a tighter grip of control over the American people as we move closer to a Biden presidency in 2021. And so now this giant, nothing burger is being signed into order and people are being released. Thankfully, guys like Joe Biggs here is going to be released from prison, and rightly so. But guess who else is getting out, guys? Guys like the Proud Boy leader Enrique Torrio reportedly worked as an undercover informant. No, it was heavily exposed that this guy was a prolific informant for the FBI and was heavily involved in this whole J6 nonsense. So while guys like him are going to be getting out, There's a lot of talk of people saying, well, you need to put Ross Albright's pardon at the top of the executive order stack. And Elon Musk just chimed in saying, Ross will be freed too. In case you didn't know, Ross Albright pardon odds are soaring on Polymarket after these Musk comments. This is a place where you can place a bet on who Trump will pardon in his first 100 days, and Ross Albright is right up here at 91%. But again, this hasn't been done yet. This remains to be seen. You'll notice Roger Ver is on the list here as well, and I believe this also is someone who is wrongfully potentially going to be facing a lot of time. He has a petition, #FreeRoger, signed the open letter asking the president to pardon Roger Ver. Why? Because he spoke out about some of the manipulations going behind the scenes in the Bitcoin space. You think pro-Bitcoin Trump's going to work on getting this guy out? I don't think so, folks. He's also signed an order to end federal censorship on social media platforms. Again, on the surface, it sounds fantastic. At issue are Biden administration's efforts to point out potentially harmful misinformation on social media platforms, particularly around COVID-19. Well, may I remind you from my video from last week, the truth about Facebook censorship moving forward into MAGA 2025. We saw the tech billionaire Zuckerberg appear on Joe Rogan and try to make amends with everybody that he censored since he launched his platform with this whole MAGA crowd leading into Trump's presidency. Again, trying to get, the right on side and on board. I put out this video, the truth about the coronavirus they hope you'll never see, in January of 2020, guys. I don't know anybody else who is putting out videos like the truth about this that they don't want you to see in January of 2020. And that's precisely what led to my YouTube channel with 275,000 subscribers being terminated from the platform. Do you think I'm expecting Donald Trump to get this back for me anytime soon? Heck no, ladies and gentlemen. We're also hearing that he's declared a person's gender can't be changed. Well, that's like saying, guess what? 2 + 2 = 4. And everybody's championing him and clapping and saying, yay. I mean, obviously, it's a good thing that he's talking about reversing this absolute nonsense. But may I remind you that the executive order doesn't talk about, ending puberty blockers and transitions, surgeries and all the sorts of things that lead to these problems. He's essentially just saying, like, a person can't change their gender. It's like, yeah, everybody knows that. It's insane that we have to even say it. So today we're going to look at just an overview of some of these day one executive actions and just, remind you to not get overwhelmed with the hopium that we saw 4 years ago, moving into the next 4 years, guys. Crazy times that we're looking at indeed. We're going to talk about all of this and much more, but really quickly before we do, I'd remind you to check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. If you have yet to do this, you've been watching Press for Truth for 19 years now that I've been doing this. And if you've never contributed, guys, today would be a great day. You can check that top link in the description below. You can do PayPal, you can do Bitcoin, you can do other cryptocurrencies. You could sign up for a monthly recurring contribution there. You could send stuff, an e-transfer to this address here, or you can send stuff to my P.O. box, guys. Again, just click that top link in the description below as soon as you're done watching this video. Thank you so much to everybody who does take 1 minute to contribute to my efforts here at Press for Truth. All right, guys, whenever you're feeling stupid, just remember this image and the time that we went through that should be known as the most ridiculous time in all of human history. So when Donald Trump is putting out an executive order to withdraw the United States from the World Health Organization, obviously this should come as just, again, like an absolute no-brainer. But, in doing so, he's not saying he's going to do what I think a lot of the right-wing MAGA crowd thinks he's going to do. In fact, it's quite the opposite. Trump has long been critical of the United Nations Health Agency and his administration, formally began a withdrawal from the WHO in July of 2020 as the COVID-19 pandemic continued to spread. But 4 years ago, then President Joe Biden halted the U.S.'s exit from the body's tasked with coordinating the international response to health emergencies in one of his first actions taking over the White House. The text of Monday's executive order cites the organization's mishandling of COVID-19 pandemic that arose out of Wuhan, China, and other global health crises, its failure to adopt urgently needed reforms, and its inability to demonstrate independence from the inappropriate political influence of WHO member states. Now, what exactly does he mean by urgently needed reforms when it comes to what should have been done? Well, again, may I remind you this conversation he just had with Bill Gates, the guy who's heading up this global health effort when it comes to the global inoculation program. And let me just remind you of what he said, as was revealed in this interview just recently, like a few days ago, less than a week.
Have you met with Donald Trump since the election?
Yeah, I had a chance to go have a long and actually quite intriguing dinner with him.
What did you discuss? What was intriguing?
Well, we touched on a lot of things. It was over 3 hours. To my surprise, it was, just he and I, his chief of staff, Susie Wiles, and the person who helps manage things for me, Larry Cohen. So the four of us sat there, and it was quite wide-ranging. Global health's the area that I work in, and such amazing things have happened and can happen there. I spoke a lot about HIV and that the foundation's literally working on a cure for that. We're at an early stage, and so he, in the COVID days, accelerated the vaccine innovation. So I, was asking him if maybe the same kind of thing could be done here.
Hello.
And we both got, I think, pretty excited about that.
Like, he just said that he warp speeded the global inoculation program, and they just had a 3-hour conversation about how they, may get excited about doing similar things moving forward, guys. So again, this whole withdrawing from the WHO, again, is supposed to make people like cheer and champion for this guy, but nothing of the sort of what you think is going to come out of this is going to come of it, folks. It's just absolutely insane to me that people are eating this up. He grants sweeping pardons to the J6 defendants. Well, good. Again, giant nothing burger. None of them should have been in there in the first place. I reported on Joe Biggs getting 17 years back when he was first convicted over this absolute nonsense, and me and Biggs go back like almost a decade. He's a good guy. He is, the real deal. Somebody who's falsely been imprisoned over this giant nothing burger. So this is the kind of guy who should be getting out. Meanwhile, Proud Boys leader Enrique Torrio, who I said was an FBI informant, and everybody I remember back then was like, oh, really, Dan? He's getting 22 years in prison, huh? Gee. And now, look, like, he's out. And may I remind some of you people that FBI informants are really just tools of the state. They're like people who are being blackmailed, because they've committed certain crimes, and the FBI comes along and says, hey, look, you want to make a deal here? You want to not do 20-odd years, then you're going to work for us. And that's exactly what happened in the case of this man, who's now getting out thanks to Donald Trump. Again, are we going to see Ross Albright getting out? 87% of the polymarket crowd seems to think so. And again, this is the man who's been facing like 2 life terms for a nonviolent crime. Donald Trump promised he's going to get him out. But again, this is just to get the right-wing MAGA crowd on board. Roger Ver is somebody who truly deserves, being, pardoned by Trump. He's facing being extradited from Chile, I believe he's in right now. Don't quote me on that, but he's facing major charges, and him, getting this from Trump, I think is probably one of the last things we're going to see coming from this, from these executive orders. He's declaring a person's gender can't be changed. Again, like, yeah, obviously that's the case. The order requires the government to use the term sex rather than gender. I think that's a good call. sex is the correct term. There is no such thing as these multiple genders that are being made up. So this is a good thing. Obviously, this is moving in the right direction, while mandating that identification documents issued by the government, including passports and visas, be based on what is described as an individual's immutable biological classification as either male or female. So again, everything on the surface here sounds good. Finally, bringing us back to a place of rationality when it comes to the transgender issue. But as Billboard Chris, who's heavily involved in these things, posted, this is an important note to make, just to clarify, child transition has not been banned via executive order in the United States. Nothing has changed with respect to children receiving puberty blockers, cross-sex hormones, and sex change surgeries. This remains a state-by-state issue. So again, has anything really happened here? Yet again, that remains to be seen. We've got him withdrawing again from the Paris Agreement, reversing U.S. policy on climate change. But again, I will remind you, this is not because he believes man-made climate change is a hoax, which it most definitely is. In fact, he believes the opposite. He just believes that the U.S. has got screwed over here in a bad deal. And that's why he wants out. That's why he's trying to negotiate, and put tariffs on Canada and, talking about tapping into our resources because of, being screwed over by these deals. Not the fact that it's all, just a hoax, which is something he should be exposing. So, guys, I hope you're not continuing with the hopium of the selected Donald Trump and this new golden age era that we were marching into. I want to remind you, if you haven't seen it, and even if you have, give it a watch again, Debunking the False Political Hopium Paradigm with Indie Media Veterans. This is an interview I did back in August of 2024, where veterans of the indie media, with combined experiences totaling nearly 80 years, came together to discuss the ramping up of political propaganda surrounding Donald Trump and the U.S. presidential selection. They discussed the importance of understanding the divide and conquer tactics, fifth-generation warfare, and the mainstream alternative media. The group also discusses some ideas for real solutions outside of the political puppet show. Very, very important information for you to understand, ladies and gentlemen, if you're not sure about where you sit on this. Please don't fall for the hopium. Give this video a watch. And once again, if you do appreciate my efforts to continuously bring you this information, don't forget to check me out here at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Again, you can check that top link in the description below. And that's all for today, guys. Just wanted to bring all of this to your attention as people are, cheering about all these great executive orders are being signed. This man constantly says one thing and then does another. Be wary, be leery, looking out into 2025 and beyond. So just wanted to bring all that to your attention. Once again, don't forget to check me out at pressfortruth.ca/donate. Check that top link in the description below. And that's all for today. Be sure to click the thumbs up button, share this video, and stay tuned, guys. We're going to have more video reports coming soon, God willing. This is Dan Dicks reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.